They say football unites the world. Billions of people cheer, cry, and emotionally invest in a ball crossing a line. Entire nations pause for 90 minutes. Streets empty, screens light up, and conversations suddenly have one central focus. Emotions rise and fall together, synchronized across continents. For many, this shared attention feels almost sacred. Yet somewhere in a quiet apartment, someone scrolls past the highlights and feels absolutely nothing. No spark, no excitement, just calm. The noise of celebration barely registers. There is no urge to click, no curiosity pulling them in. Instead, there is a quiet sense of distance. While the rest of the world pulses with collective emotion, that person quietly wonders why it doesn't move them. They ask themselves if something is missing. They listen to the cheers through walls or screens and feel untouched. The question lingers longer than the match itself. This video is about those people. The ones who don't watch football. The ones standing at the edge of humanity's largest ritual, observing rather than participating. They are present but not involved, aware but not absorbed. They don't hate the game. They simply don't feel called by it. While others lose themselves in the moment, they remain intact. And that difference often goes unnoticed or misunderstood. Football is more than a sport. It functions like a modern cathedral. The chants replace hymns, jerseys replace robes, and stadiums replace temples. People travel long distances for it. They prepare for it emotionally. They treat it with ritual seriousness. It gives ordinary people something powerful, a shared emotional rhythm. A moment where individuality dissolves and people feel part of something larger than themselves. Loneliness fades when surrounded by the same colors and chants. Identity becomes collective rather than personal. For many, football is not about skill or tactics. It is about belonging. It is about knowing where you fit. It is about having a side. In a chaotic world, it offers a simple answer to the question of, who am I with? Psychologists describe this feeling as collective effervescence, a concept introduced by Emil Durkheim. It refers to the emotional electricity people feel when they lose themselves inside a group experience. The self becomes less important than the moment. Individual worries temporarily disappear. When a team scores, the reaction isn't just happiness. It is a temporary escape from isolation. Strangers hug. Voices merge. Differences dissolve for a brief moment. The brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, and adrenaline, creating a chemical sense of unity and connection. These chemicals reinforce the experience. They make the moment memorable. They encourage people to come back again and again. But not every brain responds the same way. Some people don't feel alive in shouting crowds. The stimulation feels excessive rather than uplifting. The excitement feels external, not personal. They feel more present in silence. Quiet allows them to think, reflect, and process. Calm gives them clarity instead of distraction. Stillness becomes their version of intensity. That doesn't mean they are cold or disconnected. It means they are wired differently. Their nervous system seeks meaning before excitement. Their emotions move inward, not outward. Football is engineered around unpredictable rewards, near misses, sudden wins, and emotional swings. The tension keeps attention locked in. The uncertainty keeps hope alive. The payoff keeps people emotionally invested. These are the same neurological loops that make gambling addictive. The brain anticipates reward even when nothing happens. Losses are reframed as almost. Time disappears without notice. On a global scale, football is controlled stimulation. It captures attention in cycles. It regulates emotion for billions. It becomes a shared emotional schedule. For certain minds, that stimulation feels overwhelming rather than exciting. Noise becomes fatigue. Repetition becomes irritation. Emotion feels forced rather than natural. Their reward system responds not to external noise, but to internal depth. Thought brings satisfaction. Insight feels rewarding. Understanding creates its own quiet pleasure. Reading, thinking, creating, analyzing, or observing brings them more fulfillment than collective excitement. They don't need a crowd to feel engaged. They don't need a score to feel progress. Their joy is self-generated. To them, football feels like sound without meaning, movement without consequence, emotion without purpose. They don't lack emotion. They simply value depth over intensity. They prefer slow understanding to fast excitement. They seek lasting clarity instead of temporary highs. Football also feeds one of humanity's oldest instincts, tribalism. Teams replace tribes. Rivalries replace ancient conflicts. Loyalty becomes inherited rather than chosen. Colors become identity. Symbols become sacred. Winning feels like dominance and losing feels personal. This mirrors ancient survival psychology where belonging meant safety. Being part of a group increased chances of survival. Outsiders were threats. Loyalty was life. But people who don't watch football often step outside this instinct. They observe it rather than obey it. They question its logic. They find identity in individual thought rather than group loyalty. They define themselves internally. They resist emotional inheritance. They question why emotional energy should be invested in strangers wearing the same colors. They wonder who benefits from that attachment. They notice how easily passion can be redirected. This detachment is not arrogance. It is awareness, a conscious pause before emotional commitment. It is a quiet resistance to inherited programming, a refusal to run on autopilot, a decision to choose rather than follow. In many societies, football is a social language. It opens conversations. It builds instant familiarity. It creates social shortcuts. Friendships, jokes, and workplace bonds revolve around it. Silence during match discussions is noticed. Not knowing scores feels like ignorance. Not participating can make someone feel invisible. Their absence is subtle but real. They become observers of conversations rather than contributors. That is why non-watchers are often labeled boring, strange, or disconnected. The label protects the norm. It explains difference without understanding it. Yet beneath that label is something rare. Emotional independence, mental sovereignty, freedom of attention. These individuals refuse to pay the social tax of constant enthusiasm. They do not perform excitement. They do not fake interest. They choose stillness in a culture addicted to noise. They guard their energy carefully. They listen more than they react. They are not rejecting joy. They are protecting their attention. They know attention is finite. They spend it deliberately. We live in an age where every app, ad, and screen competes for emotional reaction. Silence is undervalued. Calm is suspicious. Stillness is uncomfortable. Some minds simply become saturated. Too much input dulls sensitivity. Excitement loses meaning. Neuroscience links this to dopamine fatigue. When stimulation is constant, reward weakens. Pleasure becomes harder to feel. For these people, football becomes too loud, too repetitive, and too emotionally expensive. The cost outweighs the reward. The return on attention feels low. They seek quiet spaces where nothing demands excitement. Neutrality becomes relief. Calm becomes restoration. Not watching football becomes a form of psychological self-preservation. It is a boundary, a refusal to be emotionally drained. Observing the crowd without joining it requires inner stability, comfort with solitude, confidence without validation. These individuals are not moved by scoreboards. They are moved by patterns. They notice cycles rather than moments. They notice how joy turns into anger, how unity dissolves into hostility, how devotion becomes identity. To them, football is not just a sport. It is a mirror reflecting human behavior, a study of emotion at scale. This awareness can be liberating, but it can also be lonely. Insight creates distance. Understanding separates. Even those who choose detachment sometimes feel the subtle sting of exclusion. Not envy but separation. Not desire but difference. They wonder if something is wrong with them. The doubt is quiet. The question lingers. We are conditioned to believe that participation equals aliveness. That excitement proves meaning. That silence equals absence. Silence often feels suspicious in a world built on applause. Calm is mistaken for emptiness. Stillness is misunderstood. Philosophers like Pascal and Kierkegaard warned that distraction is humanity's favorite escape. Noise keeps questions away. Activity replaces reflection. Football, like many mass spectacles, structures time and identity. It fills emotional space. It postpones existential discomfort. The person who doesn't watch football isn't disconnected from life. They may be deeply connected inwardly. They simply relate differently. They may be unwilling to forget its absurdity long enough to cheer. They see the metaphor too clearly. They notice the trade being made. In that sense, not watching football is not apathy. It is a form of mindfulness. Awareness without anesthesia. A refusal to outsource emotion to spectacle. A decision to feel deliberately. A choice to stay conscious. Yes, it comes with loneliness. Distance is the cost. Separation is the trade. But it also brings clarity, presence, mental space. These individuals may never feel the rush of a last-minute goal, but they experience something else, something quieter. They experience presence. They do not need noise to feel real. They do not need crowds to feel alive. This story was never really about football. It is about perception. It is about attention. It is about two ways of experiencing life. one through collective emotion, the other through conscious reflection. Football is merely the stage. Humanity is the performance. Behavior is the real spectacle. And perhaps the people who don't watch aren't missing the game at all. Perhaps they are seeing it clearly. Maybe they are not outside the experience. Maybe they are simply watching a different one.